Yo, wakest man in the neighborhood. One round old-timer. Prove you can protect these kids. The bell had been ringing for 4 seconds. 4 seconds. That is how long it took a stranger to walk into a school crosswalk and start screaming at a 60-year-old man in a yellow vest. Dante Sky was bouncing on his toes. Right there in the painted lines. Between the curb and 11 children. Hand in the vest, Grandpa. You can't protect anybody. A phone was already recording from the bushes. A tripod, black legs sunk in the mulch by the fire hydrant. Red light on. Live. Otis Fairweather did not look at the camera. He looked at the kids. Curb, he said to both feet. Wait for my sign. Your sign? Dante laughed. He had a laugh like a car alarm. This sign? He slapped it. Open palm, hard, a competition slap, right across the face of the octagon. The stop sign tore out of Otis's grip and spun toward the gutter. It never got there. Otis's left hand came off his hip. It did not reach. It did not grab. It arrived, like the pole had an appointment. His fingers closed a foot down the shaft, killed the spin dead, and the butt end came down on the asphalt with a single flat crack. Planted. Vertical, perfectly straight, like a guidon on a parade deck, and his eyes never left the children. Not once. Not for 1/10 of a second. At the curb, a mother grabbed a father's sleeve. Did you see that? She whispered. The father had seen it. The father did not blink for a while. Dante did not see it at all. Dante was checking his own reflection in his phone. Otis raised the sign. He stepped into the road. He walked 11 kids across, at the same speed he walked them across every single day. And he touched the top of each head as they passed. And he said, "Morning, ma'am," to a 6-year-old girl in a dinosaur backpack, even though it was 3 in the afternoon. Because that was their joke, and had been for 2 years. The last kid reached the sidewalk. Then Otis turned around. He did not raise his voice. He used the exact volume he used to tell a kindergartner to tie a shoe. Not on my corner, son. Dante grinned into his phone. He thought he had won. He had just started a countdown he could not hear. In 8 weeks, that same corner would host one more challenge, announced by Dante himself. Promoted by Dante himself. Timed and scheduled by Dante himself. And on that day, every camera in the neighborhood would be pointed the right way for once, including 31 cameras he never knew existed. But before we continue, subscribe now and tell us in the comments where you are watching from and what time you saw this video. Tonight's story is one you will never forget. Here is the part Dante Sky never bothered to look up. Otis Fairweather did 24 years in the United States Marine Corps and retired a gunnery sergeant. 10 of those years he spent as an instructor-trainer in the Marine Corps Martial Arts program, which means he did not just earn belts. He made the men who taught the men who earned them. And the third thing, the quiet one, the one that actually matters. His wife taught room 114 at Marlow Elementary for 19 years. 2nd grade. She died on a Tuesday in October. That crosswalk was her crosswalk. She stood in it in the rain with a broken umbrella and a clipboard, waving cars down before the district ever hired a guard for that corner. Otis took the job 11 weeks after the funeral, minimum wage. $12 an hour and a whistle. He was not there for the money. He was standing post. That is why he did not put Dante Sky on the ground the first day. That is the whole reason. You do not bring a fight onto sacred ground. He would learn what that decision cost him, and so would everybody else. The clip went up that night. 51 seconds. Title in yellow block letters. Episode 1. Texting the guard. Dante cut the part where the sign got caught. Of course he did. He cut it because it looked weird, and he did not understand it. And Dante Sky never posted anything he did not understand. What he kept was the slap, the laugh, and the old man saying, "Not on my corner." Son, with the volume dropped and the bass pushed up so it sounded weak. 200,000 views in 9 hours. The comments were exactly what he wanted. Skull emojis. Bro is fearless. Bro tested the whole neighborhood. Then, at 11:40 p.m., a verified account posted a single comment under the video. It was the community standards account of his own federation. The people who print his rank certificate. One line. No emojis. This is not what a black belt is for. It was deleted in 6 minutes. It was screenshotted in 90 seconds. By morning, that screenshot had been reposted 400 times, and the top reply on every single repost said the same 3 words in 100 different ways. They saw it. Dante read it at a red light on Bellamy Avenue. He read all his comments at red lights. He had been doing it for 2 years and had never once been in an accident, which he treated as proof of skill rather than luck. He laughed at the screen. "Old head's mad," he said out loud in an empty car. Then the light turned green, and he did not move for 3 full seconds, and the truck behind him leaned on the horn. And Dante Sky flipped him off in a car with his own sponsor's logo on the door. That was the first payment. He did not notice he had paid it. At Cobra Ridge Taekwondo, where he trained, his coach pulled him aside before the evening class. Coach Vidal was 55 and had a bad knee and a voice like a paper bag. "Take it down," Vidal said. "It's at 400,000. Take it down, Dante. It's a social experiment." Vidal looked at him for a long moment. "That's not a legal theory. It's public sidewalk. I checked." "You checked whether they could stop you." Vidal put his hand on the doorframe. "You didn't check whether you should." Dante laughed. The car alarm laugh. "Coach. He's a crossing guard. He holds a sign for a living. So did my father." Dante blinked. He had no answer for that. So he did what he always did with things he had no answer for. He filmed it. He turned his phone on his own coach, mid-sentence, and posted the clip with the caption, "Coach tried to cancel me." Vidal did not speak to him for 11 days. Episode 2 dropped on a Thursday. Here is what Episode 2 was. Dante parked a black SUV 40 feet up from the crosswalk. He crouched behind the rear bumper. He waited until Otis was mid-road. "Sign up. 4 kids in the lane, first graders, the small ones, the ones who still hold hands in a chain because they were taught to." Then he came out screaming. Full sprint, both arms up. A competition ki at the top of his lungs, straight at the group. Here is what happened in the next second and a half. Otis did not flinch. Not a twitch, not a blink. His head turned to the sound and his body turned with it one piece, and he stepped, not back, forward, and the sign came across in front of the children like a gate closing, and his other arm went out flat behind him and gathered 4 kids into his own shadow without ever touching one of them hard. His feet slid apart into something low and square and heavy, 1 foot back, weight-centered. A dad on the sidewalk had done 8 years in the Army. He said later that he could not name the stance, but he could name the category, and the category was, "That man has done this before, to people who meant it." Dante pulled up laughing 3 feet short. "Relax, relax, it's content." And in the silence behind Otis's arm, a 6-year-old boy named Emerson started to cry. Not a movie cry, the real kind, the kind that has no sound at first and then has too much. Otis went down on one knee in the middle of the road, in the road. Sign still up in his right hand, still up, still holding the lane, and his left hand on that boy's back. You're okay, hey, look at me." I thought. I know what you thought. Otis's voice did not shake. Nothing gets past me. Nothing ever has. Now walk me to the curb. I'm scared of cars. The kid laughed through it. Snot everywhere. He took the old man's hand and led him to the sidewalk like he was doing him a favor. And Otis let him think that, because that is the whole trick, and Otis had known the trick for 40 years. Dante posted it anyway. He posted it because the sprint looked athletic and the kiai sounded good. He should have watched the whole clip once, with the sound up, like a person. The internet did. By midnight, the comment section had turned. Not politely. "You made a baby cry for a thumbnail. That's somebody's son, my guy. Bro, I've watched this 9 times and the old man never blinked." Never blinked. Nobody talking about that. That last comment got 40,000 likes, and Dante deleted it. And the deletion got screenshotted too, because that is how the world works now. And the second screenshot did better than the first. At 9:02 the next morning, Vantablast Energy sent a 2-line email with the word pausing in it. At 9:40, Corva Fightwear sent a longer one that used the word pausing 3 times and never once said why. Dante read both at a red light. He sat through the whole green. Principal Nakamura did not lose her temper. Principal Nakamura filed. She was a small woman with reading glasses on a chain, and a filing cabinet she had color-coded personally. And she had spent 19 years learning that in a school district, rage is useless and paperwork is a weapon. She filed a request for a no trespass order against Dante Sky. She attached the 2 videos, printed on paper. With timestamps she wrote in by hand. She got an answer in 4 days from a district attorney named Pruitt, who had never seen Marlowe Elementary in his life. She read it out loud to the empty office because she needed to hear how bad it was. The individual has not entered school property. The sidewalk and crosswalk in question are municipal right-of-way. Absent a criminal complaint from the guard himself, the district lacks standing. She set it down. "He's standing in the road," she said, "in front of my kids." The letter did not answer. She called the police non-emergency line. She got a very kind officer who explained, very kindly, that yelling in public is not a crime, that running toward people is not a crime unless you touch them, and that the crossing guard would have to come in and make a statement himself. So Nakamura walked out to the corner at 3:15 with the letter in her hand. Otis, I need you to file. Otis Fairweather kept his eyes on the road. No, ma'am. He's escalating. He's a boy with a camera. He's 23 and he's a national champion, and he made Emerson Boyd cry. Otis's jaw moved, just once. That was the whole reaction, and it was more than most people got. Then I'll be here at 7 tomorrow instead of 8, he said. Nakamura took her glasses off. That's not an answer. It's the only one I've got. Why? Otis raised the sign. 2 kids crossed. He nodded them through and put the sign down. Because if I file, there's a hearing. If there's a hearing, there's a news truck. If there's a news truck, it parks right there. He pointed with 2 fingers at the strip of curb outside the fence. And every kid at this school learns that this corner is a place where things happen. He looked at her then, and Nakamura saw something in his face she did not have a name for yet. This corner is a place where nothing happens, Otis said. That's the entire point of it. That's what I'm keeping. He turned back to the road. Nakamura went inside and did not sleep well, and did not know that 30 feet away, along the chain-link fence by the 5th grade wing, 4 children had just finished their first shot list. They had started the day after Emerson cried. Nobody asked them to. Nobody told them to. Nobody, in fact, noticed. Priya Raval, who was 11, and owned a phone with a cracked screen and a tripod made from a paint stirrer and 2 rubber bands. Marcus Okonjo, who was 10 and had already read the entire school handbook for fun and could recite the section on visitor conduct. Tessa Lindquist, who was 11 and had a stopwatch app and a spiral notebook and terrible handwriting and perfect timestamps. Deshawn Ferrer, who was 11 and had the second phone and the good angle. Because the good angle was the corner of the fence by the dumpster where the vine grew through, and Deshawn had figured that out on day 1. Their teacher was Ms. Rooney, who taught 5th grade in the portable and had a documentary film habit and a rule she said every single morning. If it isn't labeled, it didn't happen. What are you guys doing out here? She asked them the first week. Priya did not look up from the viewfinder. Coverage. Coverage of what? Tessa held up the notebook. Miss Rooney read it. Then Miss Rooney sat down on the asphalt in a skirt, in front of the dumpster, and read the whole thing twice. Show me the rest, she said. They showed her the rest. Miss Rooney did not sleep well either. Episode 3 was announced on a Tuesday with a graphic, black background, red letters, a photo of Otis taken from behind at a distance in the rain. Final Boss Challenge, Friday 3 p.m., Marlow Crossing, live. The caption underneath said, "The weak-old man proves it or he quits 1 round. No excuses. Bring the whole neighborhood." It did 4 million views in a day and a half. The parent group chat detonated. Keep them inside Friday. Keep them home. Call the news. Call the police again. Somebody said, call the county. Somebody said, call a lawyer. Somebody said, and this was the one that made the chat go quiet for a minute, that man is 60 years old, and a spinning heel kick to the head does not care about your age. Somebody else typed, has anyone actually asked Otis what he wants nobody had? At the gym, Coach Vidal broke 11 days of silence. Withdraw it. It's already promoted. Dant, look at me. Do you know what a national champion looks like on the news kicking a crossing guard? He's not gonna fight. Dante was wrapping his hands and not looking up. That's the whole bit. He backs down, I say the line. We go home. It's theater, coach. Nobody gets hurt. And if he doesn't back down? Dante laughed the car alarm laugh. Then he gets hurt. Across the mat, a purple belt named Ronnie snorted so loud that half the room turned. Dante's head snapped up. Something funny? Ronnie shrugged. Ronnie was 19 and had lost to Dante 11 times and had never once said a word about it. Nah, Ronnie said. It's just, you keep saying he's weak. He is. Then why you training extra? Dead silence on the mat. Somebody's water bottle squeaked. Dante stood up and walked out and did not train that night, and the clip of Ronnie saying it. Because somebody was always filming. That is what Dante had taught them all. Got 80,000 views by itself. His own gym had scored a point on him and posted it. Meanwhile is a word I am not going to use, because what happened next did not happen alongside anything. It happened underneath it. It had been happening for 6 weeks. On Wednesday afternoon, Principal Nakamura got an email from Miss Rooney with the subject line, AV room. Now, please, she thought a projector had died. She opened the door, and the lights were off, and 4 fifth graders were standing in a row, like a firing squad in Marlowe Wildcats t-shirts. And on the pull-down screen was a title card that said, in white letters on black, Marlowe crosswalk, Inskint log, 41 days. Nakamura's stomach dropped. Kids, ma'am, Marcus said, you should sit down. There's 40 minutes of this. She sat down. Priya hit play. It was not kid stuff. That was the thing that undid Nakamura, sitting on a plastic chair in a dark AV room at 4 p.m. on a Wednesday. It was not kid stuff at all. It opened with a map. A hand drawn overhead of the intersection with camera positions marked A, B, C, and a legend. A legend. Then it went in order, every single one, dated, time-stamped, labeled. Day 1, sign contact, 3:02:11 p.m. 2 angles, the slap, and then, because Deshaun's angle was low and wide and caught things nobody else did, the catch. The pole coming out of the spin and hitting the asphalt vertical. Priya had slowed it down. She had put a little white circle around Otis's left hand. That's the part he cut, she said quietly. Then day 9. Tripod place. A clean shot of Dante shoving the tripod legs into the school's mulch bed on the school's side of the property line, with a second shot of the property survey marker 4 feet behind it, because Marcus had gone to the county website and found the plat map and printed it. Nakamura put her hand over her mouth. Day 14. SUVH, 3 angles. The crouch, the sprint, Emerson Boyd's face. And Tessa's stopwatch overlay in the corner, counting the exact interval between Dante leaving cover and Otis stepping forward. 1. 1 seconds. He beat him, Tessa said. By a lot. That's why we put the clock on it. Day 22. Verbal log. Typed transcript of every insult. With a note that said, unverifate words, marked in gray. Because they had refused to write down anything, they were not sure they heard correctly. Unverified words marked in gray. Nakamura, who had spent 19 years begging adults to document things properly, put her face in her hands. How long? She said. 6 weeks, Priya said. We film every day, 3 to 3:30. It's a shot list. We rotate. Why? The 4 of them looked at each other. Because nobody was, Deshawn said. Nakamura wiped her eyes with the back of her wrist and stood up and looked at Ms. Rooney and started to say something about parental consent and district policy and chain of custody, and Miss Rooney held up her hand. I already sent it. The room stopped. You what? Monday, Miss Rooney said. The full package. 3 places. She counted them off on her fingers, and her hand was not steady. The district superintendent's office. Direct, not through the school. So it's on record outside our building. Rooney, the Federation's ethics board. There's a form. It took 4 hours because I did it right. Rooney and Gwen Salcedo. Nakamura's mouth opened. Gwen Salcedo produced the 6 o'clock news for the whole county. Her daughter is in my class, Ms. Rooney said. Camera C, that's Nadia. She's been running the audio. Silence in the AV room. The projector fan whirring. Nakamura sat back down. You sent a harassment timeline, built by 5th graders to a television producer, without telling me. Yes. Without telling the parents. Yes. Without telling Otis. Miss Rooney's chin came up. Especially without telling Otis. Why? Because he'd have stopped it. Miss Rooney's voice cracked on the second word, and she pushed through it. You know he would. He'd have stood there, with his hands folded, and said, not on my corner, and we'd have shredded 1,100 files, and let that boy come back Friday and do whatever he wanted. Nakamura looked at the screen. The last frame was still up. Otis on one knee in the road, sign up, hand on a crying boy's back. He thinks he's protecting them, she said. He is, said Priya. We're just protecting him back. Nakamura found Otis at 6:40 that evening. He was not at the corner. He was inside the fence, on the grass by the flagpole, with the stop sign across his knees and a rag and a tin of polish. She had seen him do this before and never asked. Every Wednesday. He polished a piece of painted aluminum until the octagon threw back the streetlight like brass. She sat down on the low wall beside him and told him everything. He kept polishing for a while. The Salcedo girl, he said, runs audio, apparently. She's the one who leaves the granola bar on the fence post when it rains. He shook his head slowly. I thought she was being kind to an old man. She was collecting. She was doing both. Otis breathed out. That's the job, actually. Doing both. Nakamura looked at the vest folded on the wall between them. She had walked past that vest 600 times. There was a pin on it. A small enamel pin, no bigger than a thumbnail, pinned inside the vest where the fabric folded over so that it only showed if you knew to look. She had never once asked, Otis, what's the pin? His hand stopped. He put the rag down. He picked up the vest and turned the flap out, with 2 fingers. Careful. The way you handle a thing that cannot be replaced. It was a small oval, cream enamel, gold edge, a number. 114. She had it made, he said, the year she got the room. The whole staff got one. $22. She was furious about the price. Nakamura's throat closed. Room 114, she said. 2nd grade, 19 years. Otis rubbed his thumb across the enamel once and folded the flap back over it. She used to stand out here before there was a guard. No vest, no sign. Just a lady with a clipboard walking into traffic waving her arms, and every car on Delacroix Street knew her by the 3rd week. He nodded at the crosswalk. They painted those lines because of her. She wrote 9 letters to the city. 9. Nakamura did not trust her voice. When she passed, Otis said, "I sat in that house for 11 weeks. Then the district posted the job. $12 an hour. He picked the rag back up. "I'm not standing there for the money, ma'am. I know. I'm standing post." He went back to polishing, and Nakamura understood, finally, all at once, what he had actually been saying for 6 weeks. "That's why you won't file," she said. "That's why you let him do it. If I fight him there, that corner becomes a place where a fight happened." Otis's voice was completely level. "Right now it's a place where a woman taught kids to look both ways for 19 years. That's what it is. That's all it is." He held the sign up to the light and checked it. "I'd rather eat it than change what that ground means." Nakamura stood up. She put her hand flat on the flagpole to steady herself. "Otis, on Friday, there will be a news truck on that corner, whether you file or not. I know that now. What are you going to do?" Otis Fairweather looked at the crosswalk for a long, long moment. "My job," he said. Friday. Dante Sky woke up at 6:15 and did not check his phone until 7 because he had a routine. At 7:02, he had a notification he did not understand. He read it 3 times. Formal review opened. Condict, case 4471. Response required within 14 days. Your competition status is under evaluation pending outcome. He called the number. He got a voicemail box that was full. He called Coach Vidal. Vidal picked up on the first ring, which meant Vidal had been awake. "Coach." They opened. "I know." "How do you know?" "Because they called me at 10 o'clock last night," Vidal said, "and asked me if I'd instructed you to stop, and I told them the truth, which is that I did 11 days ago, and you filmed me and posted it." Silence on the line. "Coach, don't go, Dante. It's promoted. There's 40,000 people watching live. Then let them watch you not go." "That's not." Dante's voice went up. "That's not a video, Coach. Nobody watches a guy not do the thing." "Somebody would've," Vidal said. "That's the part you never learned." He hung up. Dante got in the car with the tripod and the banner and the ring light and his sponsor's logo on the door of a car he was 2 payments behind on. He arrived at 2:31. The news van was already there. It was already there. Backed into the curb outside the fence, masked up, cable across the sidewalk with a yellow safety mat over it. A woman in a blazer doing a mic check with her back to him. Not to him. With her back to him. Dante got out of the car and stood there with his tripod in his hand and felt something he did not have a word for. "Yo," he said. "Yo, you here for the challenge?" The producer, a tall woman with a headset, turned around and looked at him with an expression he recognized instantly because he had used it on 1,000 people. She looked at him like B-roll. "We're covering the school," Gwen Salcedo said. "Stand behind the mat, please. That's a trip hazard." He set his banner up anyway. Big vinyl thing on collapsible legs, SKI challenge across the top in red, and down in the corner, the one sponsor who had not paused yet, Rust Belt Nutrition, $400 a month and a discount code. The station's camera op set up 11 feet away and clipped the mic flag on the stick. That flag, a square block of plastic with the channel's number on it, sat in the frame at exactly the height of the banner's bottom corner. It covered the Rust Belt logo in every shot, all afternoon, every single angle. Rust Belt Nutrition sent their email at 4:50 that day. The subject line was, "Concluding our partnership." It did not use the word pausing at all. At 2:44, the parents started arriving. They had been told to keep the kids home. Most of them did. What they had not agreed on was staying home themselves. By 2:50, there were 60 adults on that sidewalk. By 2:55, there were over 100, standing 3 deep behind the yellow mat, quiet in a way crowds usually are not. Nobody was cheering. That was what unnerved Dante most. He had done 40 of these, and there was always a crowd noise. This crowd made no noise at all. Along the chain-link fence at 8-foot intervals, the 5th graders were setting up. Not 4 of them, 31. The whole class, plus half of Mr. Halloran's room, plus 3 6th graders who had heard and come back. Phones on paint stirrer tripods, 2 actual tripods borrowed from the AV closet. Nadia Salcedo on the fence post with a shotgun mic her mother had signed out, wearing headphones 2 sizes too big. Priya walked the line with a clipboard. A, you've got wide. B, you're on the sign. C, faces in the crowd. D, Deshaun, you're low corner. You don't move for anything. I don't care what happens. I know. Say it back. I don't move for anything. Time spent? 31 voices, ragged and overlapping, synced. Dante saw them and laughed, his car alarm laugh, and pointed his phone down the fence. Look at this. The old man brought a kid army. Nobody in the crowd laughed. Not one person. He heard it. You cannot not hear it. A joke landing in silence has a sound. And the sound is your own voice coming back off a building. Otis Fairweather came out of the school office door at 2:58. Vest on. Whistle on. Sign in his right hand, polished to a shine you could read a license plate in. And on the outside of the vest, over the heart, small and cream and gold, was the pin. For the first time in 6 years, it was on the outside. Nakamura saw it from the office window and put both hands on the sill. Otis walked to his corner. He set his heels on the same 2 cracks in the concrete he set them on every day. He checked the road, left, right, left. He looked up at the light and waited for the walk cycle, and did not look at Dante's sky once. Dante screamed at him for 11 minutes. That is the part people forget about that day. 11 minutes. He was performing for a live count that had climbed to 61,000, and he could not get a reaction out of a man in a yellow vest. So he escalated the only way he knew. Yo, hear me, old man. Weakest man in the neighborhood. I said it week 1, and you ain't proved me wrong yet. 1 round, that's all. Prove you can protect these kids or hand in the vest. He was doing the cold open again. That was the plan. Reshoot the first day. Bigger, for 3 cameras. He got in Otis's face at 18 inches, close enough that Otis could smell it. Cheap cologne over pre-workout powder. That sweet chemical burn. And under it the sourness of a man who has not eaten since a protein shake at 9 in the morning. Otis's eyes stayed on the crosswalk. Sign stays up, he said. You stay on the curb. Kids cross first. There aren't any kids. They kept them inside because of you. Bells at 3. The bells at 3, Dante mimicked, high and shaky. And a man in the crowd said something short and hard under his breath, and his wife put a hand on his arm. At 2:57, Dante had made his one mistake with the crowd. He had done a bit, a crowd work bit, the kind that always killed. He had pointed at the fresh white paint on the crosswalk. The city had repainted it Tuesday, and yelled, "Look at this! This man's hole carer! Paint! I could do this job in my sleep." And then, 60 seconds later, doing a spin for the camera, his back heel came down on the wet, slick edge of that same fresh paint and went out from under him, and he landed on his hip in front of 140 people. The crowd did not laugh either. That was worse. A dad near the front said quietly, to nobody, "Careful, it's slippery." Dante got up with his ears burning and never mentioned the paint again. The bell rang at 3, and the doors of Marlowe Elementary opened. Here is the thing about a plan made by parents in a group chat. Kindergarten does not read the group chat. 19 kids came out on the K-Wing side with an aide. Right on schedule, because the aide had been out sick Thursday and had not gotten the email. 19 5-year-olds in a rope line, holding a knotted rope with both hands, heading straight for the crosswalk. The crowd made a sound then. A low one. Somebody said, "Oh no." Otis moved. He did not run, he did not shout. He turned and he was in the road, and the sign was up. And his voice came out at exactly the volume he used every day of his life. Curb. Both feet. Wait for my sign. 19 kids stopped on a dime because they had been stopping on that voice since August. Dante Sky saw his moment. 61,000 people watching live, a crowd. 3 cameras, and the old man's hands full. He said the line, "Final boss, 1 round. Let's go, old timer." Otis Fairweather turned his head and looked at him for the first time all day. "Son," he said, "I'm asking. You once step back on the curb. Make me. I'm not going to make you." Otis's voice did not change. "I'm going to ask you. Once. That's what I've got. Then quit." Otis looked at 19 kindergartners holding a rope. Then he did something nobody expected. He handed the sign to a mother at the curb, a woman named Yvette Boyd, Emerson's mother, who took it with both hands and did not know why she was crying. And he said, "Hold this up. Don't lower it until every one of them is across. And he stepped one pace to the left, out of the lane, between Dante's sky and 19 children. You want your round, he said, not in the crossing, right here. And you throw first because I don't start things. Dante grinned. He had won. That is what he thought in that second. He had gotten the old man to stand still. He set his feet, dropped his weight, and threw the kick he had won a national title with. Spinning heel, tournament speed, chambered off the back leg with a snap you could hear 30 feet away. He aimed it at the stop sign first. That was the plan. Hit the sign, look invincible, then off the rebound. Come around and stop the second one an inch from the old man's chin for the thumbnail. But the sign was in Yvette Boyd's hands, 40 inches to the right of where he had planned, and Dante's body was already committed. So there was nothing there, and that changed the arc. And the second one came around live, full power. At a 60-year-old man's head, the crowd screamed. 1 second. That is all it took. And here is everything that happened inside it. Otis read the shoulders, not the leg, the shoulders. He had taught the counter to this kick for 10 years to Marines who did not want to learn it. And he had said the same sentence 1,000 times in 1,000 gyms. The hip lies, the foot lies, the shoulder tells the truth. The shoulder told the truth at the very start of the spin. So Otis stepped in, not back, in, toward it, inside the arc, where a spinning kick has no power at all, where the leg is just a leg swinging past your ear, and the man attached to it has his back turned and both feet in the air. The heel went by 6 inches behind Otis's head, with a sound like a towel snapping. And the frame it was aimed at was not there anymore. Dante Sky came out of the spin at full rotation, with his weight already committed to a landing foot, and the floor his brain expected was occupied. There was a hip in it, not a strike. A hip and a forearm across the shoulder, and Otis's other hand closing on the wrist, thumb side, rolling it inward. The way you take a rifle off a man who has stopped thinking. And then Otis simply turned. Leverage, angle, weight, Dante's own rotation, which he had generated himself, which had all of his 170 pounds in it, kept going and went down instead of around. He landed on his back, on the white paint he had mocked. He did not hit hard. That was the thing every camera caught, and every camera caught it. Otis's hand was under his shoulder the whole way down. He was not dropped, he was placed. Then the wrist was locked, and the shoulder was pinned, and the old man's knee was across the outside of the arm. And Dante Sky, national champion, 23 years old, 400,000 followers, could not move any part of himself that mattered. He tried once, bridged, hard, all his hips. The pin did not move an inch. There was nothing to fight. Every direction he pushed had already been closed before he got there, and he heard breathing above him. Slow, even, in through the nose, out through the mouth, the breathing of a man standing in line at a pharmacy. Dante's own breath was tearing in and out of him like a saw. He looked up into a face that was not angry. That was what broke him. Not the pin, the face. There was no rage in it, no triumph. Otis Fairweather looked exactly like a man taking a set of car keys off a friend who had had too much to drink. Dante slapped the pavement, twice, hard, the way you are taught in every honest room in the world. Otis let go instantly. He was off him and standing before the second slap finished echoing. He backed up 2 steps, hands open at his sides, and he did not stand over him. And he did not point, and he did not say a word to him at all. He held out one hand. Dante stared at it. Then he took it, and a 60-year-old crossing guard pulled a national champion up off the ground in front of 140 adults, 31 children, 3 news cameras and 61,000 live viewers, and set him on his feet and let go. The silence lasted 3 full seconds. Then somebody at the back of the crowd said, "No? No way," and a woman near the fence dropped her phone flat on the concrete and did not pick it up. And the man who had done 8 years in the army sat straight down on the curb with his hands on his knees. And Coach Vidal, who had driven over, who had been standing at the back the whole 11 minutes, who nobody knew was there, closed his eyes and let out a breath he had been holding since Tuesday. And through all of it, 40 inches to the right, Yvette Boyd was still holding the stop sign up. Vertical, untouched, not one child had moved off the curb. Otis took it back from her with both hands and said, "Thank you, ma'am," and he checked the road, left, right, left. Then he turned to the cameras. All of them. The stations, the tripod in the bushes, 31 phones along a chain-link fence. He spoke at crossing guard volume, the same volume as tie your shoe. The same volume as morning, ma'am, 1 round. It lasted 1 second. He raised the sign, "You may cross now." And 19 kindergartners walked across the road, holding a rope, past a national champion, standing in the gutter with paint on his back. And one of them, a 5-year-old named Junie, saluted, and Otis Fairweather saluted her back. The clip of that salute has been viewed more times than every video Dante Sky ever made, combined. Gwen Salcedo's reporter got to Principal Nakamura before Nakamura could get through the gate. Nakamura had come out with a folder in her hands. 40 pages, 3-hole punched, tabbed. On the cover, in a 5th grader's terrible handwriting, in marker, Marlowe Crosswalk, Incense Log, Days 141. The reporter put a microphone in front of her and asked who that man was. Principal Nakamura adjusted her glasses, and she said the sentence that ran at 6, at 11, and then on 4 national aggregators by Sunday. Retired Marine Gunnery Sergeant, martial arts instructor for the Corps, and our 5th graders documented every episode. She lifted the folder so the camera could see the handwriting. This school protects its own, in both directions. Then she handed the folder to the reporter on camera and walked back through the gate and closed it. Here is what the regret looked like, hour by hour, because he had promised everyone a live show, and he got one. 3:11 p.m. Dante's live stream was still running. He had not touched his phone. 61,000 people watched him stand in the gutter for 90 seconds with his hands on his head. The chat, archived by 400 people before he killed it, is mostly one word repeated. 3:14. He walked to his banner and tried to fold it, and the legs stuck. and he yanked it and tore the vinyl, and the news camera got that too, because the news camera had been running the whole time. That 8-second shot, a man ripping his own sponsor banner in half in a school parking lot, became the thumbnail on 900 reaction videos. 3:40. Coach Vidal walked up to him in the lot. He did not yell. "Give me the car keys," Vidal said. "You're not driving like this." "Coach, keys." Dante gave him the keys. It was the first instruction he had followed in 8 weeks. 4:50 p.m. Rust Belt Nutrition. Concluding our partnership. 6 p.m. The county news led with it, not the fight. That is what nobody expected and everybody remembers. They led with the timeline. 4 minutes and 40 seconds of the 5th graders' work, cut by Gwen Salcedo's team, but built entirely from the kids' footage, with the kids' labels left on screen. The hand-drawn map, the property line, and the plat printout. Day 14, the stopwatch overlay, 1 seconds. Unverified words marked in gray. The anchor said, "At the end." That documentation was assembled over 6 weeks by 10 and 11-year-old students on their own initiative, before any adult knew it existed. Miss Rooney watched it in her portable classroom with the lights off and did not tell anybody she was crying, which fooled nobody. 7:15 p.m. The Federation's ethics board did not wait 14 days. They had watched the 6 o'clock news like everyone else. They issued a suspension of competition status, pending outcome, effective immediately, and they added one line to the bottom of the release that Dante read 40 times that night. "A black belt is a promise to the people who cannot make it." 11 p.m. The platform's partner program pulled his monetization for a policy on targeted harassment they had never once enforced on him before. In 400 videos. In 2 years. By Sunday, the last 2 paused sponsors made it permanent. By Monday, the discount code did not work. He lost it all in about 60 hours. And here is the part the story owes you. Because a story that lies to you at the end is not worth the time you gave it. Nothing else changed. Not one thing. The challenge content economy that paid Dante Sky $4,000 a month to walk up to strangers and scream at them did not blink. It did not pause. It did not review anything. By the following Thursday, 3 separate creators had posted breakdowns of Dante's takedown with their own faces in the thumbnail. Mouths open, arrows pointing. 2 of them ran ads for the same energy drink that dropped him 19 days later. At Colby Ridge Elementary, 4 miles north, a woman putting her son in a car seat noticed a tripod in the landscaping across from the drop-off lane. She took a picture. She posted it. She tagged the school. And in the 5th grade portable at Marlow, Priya Raval read that post on a cracked phone screen at 7:50 in the morning, and she stood up and walked to the front of the room and said one sentence. "They need the list. They mailed it." Actual mail in an envelope. Because Marcus had read that email to a school gets filtered. 6 pages. The map template with blank camera positions marked A, B, C. The timestamped protocol. The rule about gray text. A 1-page cover letter in 3 different handwritings that started. You do not have to be good at filming. You have to be good at labeling. Colby Ridge's office secretary opened it on a Tuesday and read it twice, and then walked it straight into the principal's office without knocking. So there it is. And I am not going to dress it up for you. A retired gunnery sergeant stood on a corner for 6 years and did nothing but his job. A 23-year-old with a tripod cost himself a career in 8 weeks. A principal filed paperwork that went nowhere. A district lawyer wrote a letter that helped nobody. The police were kind and useless. Every adult with authority hit a wall. And the fix, the thing that actually worked, the only thing that actually worked, was built by 4 children with a paint stirrer, 2 rubber bands, a stopwatch app, and a rule about labeling. Why is it always the kids? Monday morning, 7:38 a.m. Otis Fairweather was on his corner, vest on, whistle on, sign polished. The pin was back on the inside of the flap, where it had lived for 6 years, folded over so you would have to know to look. 3 reporters had called the school. He had returned none of them. A publisher had emailed. A podcast had offered him money. He had answered exactly one message. From a retired sergeant major in Ohio he had not spoken to in 9 years, and his reply was 4 words long. He checked the road. Left, right, left. The kindergarten line came up the sidewalk holding the rope, and Junie was at the front of it. And Junie let go with one hand and saluted. Otis Fairweather came to attention on a suburban street corner and saluted a 5-year-old back. And then he stepped into the road and raised the sign and held the whole world still, while 19 children crossed a painted white line. Their teacher had written 9 letters to the city to get. Behind him, through the second-floor window, the lights were on in room 114. They come on at 7:15 every day. They always have. He never celebrated. Not once, not that day, not ever. He went back to work, and the going back was the loudest thing he ever did. Real strength does not need a camera pointed at it. It shows up at the same corner, at the same time, for the same $12 an hour, on the day nobody is watching. Now here is the question, and there are 2 honest answers to it. Miss Rooney submitted those children's footage to the district, the Federation, and a news producer without telling Otis or a single parent first. She said she did it because if she had asked, Otis would have stopped it, and he would have. She was right about that. So, protective initiative the only thing that actually worked? Or should the adults have been asked before 5th graders were made witnesses of record in a case involving a grown man? Tell us below. If this story hit you, subscribe now, share it with someone who respects quiet strength, and tell us in the comments which moment hit you the hardest. We will see you for the next story. It is already waiting.